Richard Jordan Gatling was born on September 12, 1818, in Hartford County, North Carolina, and died on February 26, 1903, in New York City. He lived through an America being reshaped by industry and war, a man of restless curiosity, mechanical skill, and contradictory motives, a gentle farmer-inventor who gave the world one of its most fearsome engines of war. Encyclopedia Britannica, Pose 1. From a young age, Gatling was drawn to machines. He tried his hand at inventions that ranged from a screw propeller for steamboats to agricultural tools like wheat drills and hemp brake machines. These early projects reveal a single thread running through his life, a deep belief that clever engineering could relieve human toil and suffering. He moved through careers, teacher, clerk, merchant, experimenter, always returning to the workshop with new ideas and a stubborn optimism that industry could make life better. Wikipedia, but the American Civil War cut a new, terrible groove through the nation and through Gatling's imagination. Watching the carnage and reading about the appalling numbers lost not to bullets, but to disease and the conditions of mass armies, Gatling reached for a radical, unforgiving solution. He wrote later that he thought a weapon that multiplied one man's fighting ability could reduce the number of soldiers needed in the field and thus reduce deaths from battle and disease. That belief, equal parts humanitarian intent and technological hubris, is the seed of the Gatling gun's story. Wikipedia in 1861-1862. Gatling created and patented a crank-operated multi-barrel gun designed to fire repeatedly without the slow reloads that sent waves of men into slaughter. He received his U.S. patent on November 4, 1862. The mechanism was elegant and brutal in its simplicity. Multiple rotating barrels, a gravity-fed magazine, and a hand crank that synchronized loading, firing, and ejection, which allowed sustained rates of fire unheard of in that era. The invention solved practical problems of overheating and jamming by rotating barrels and staggered firing. It was a machine born of ingenuity and the industrial age. Encyclopedia Britannica plus one, yet Gatling's gun did not immediately sweep the battlefield. During the Civil War, it saw only limited use. The armies of the day were hesitant, logistics complicated, and commanders slow to accept such a revolutionary device. Over time, however, the Gatling gun found patrons in other nations and in later conflicts. By the late 19th century, it had become the first commercially successful machine gun, a terrifying preview of how industrial technology would transform warfare, making killing faster, more impersonal, and more mechanized. The machine's legacy is double-edged. It embodied a hope to lessen human suffering by deterring mass armies, and it also made mass slaughter more efficient. History and Gatling himself remained a complicated figure. He continued inventing across many fields, from agricultural machines to steam-powered devices, and later improved his gun designs, even adapting them to electric motors for astonishing rates of fire by the standards of his time. He sold patents and worked with manufacturers. Colt was a notable partner, and though his name became synonymous with the machine gun, he maintained that his original motive was to prevent needless loss of life. Whether we read that as sincere or self-justifying, it is part of the telling. A man who wanted to fix the world with inventions, who nevertheless created a tool that helped make the modern face of war. Wikipedia plus one. There is a human sorrow threaded through this history. Imagine an inventor in his workshop, haunted by cemetery reports and the small notices of disease-struck camps, deciding that a mechanical terror might actually spare more lives than it would cost. It is an act of moral calculation that sounds cold until you remember the grief that birthed it. Gatling's story forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. Can technological brilliance be separated from its uses? Does an inventor bear responsibility for the ends to which a device is put? Gatling answered these in the only way an inventor knows how, by inventing, improving, and hoping the design would serve a humane purpose. Wikipedia. He died in 1903, at the turn of a century that would soon see his machine's mechanical descendants unleash horrors on an even grander scale in the world wars. The Gatling gun, once hand-cranked and novel, became an archetype, its rotating barrel principle resurfacing in later electrically driven cannons like the Vulcan. Gatling's life therefore sits at the hinge between early industrial optimism and the brutal modernity of mechanized conflict. Wikipedia +1. If you want this transformed into a short script for a 8 to 10 minute emotional YouTube video, with timestamps, voiceover cues, and a thumbnail phrase, or a shorter biographical summary suitable for narration, I can write that next, and I can include suggested images and exact quotes to display on screen. Which would you like me to do now?